course I would have it popped out. All right, we are streaming. We are live. How's it go? Hello, gals, guys, whoever's watching, aliens, I don't know. Welcome to this video. We're going to talk about Darkest Dungeon. And the reason why I want to do this video like this, it's going to be a very casual video. I'm going to try and break down Kickstarter campaigns and how I've noticed certain things play out, things that people have said about Kickstarter campaigns, possibly verifying them, and also not saying as much. I'm going to try and stop that. That's just no. So let's just get into just generally introducing Darkest Dungeon to, I'm assuming no one who does not know Darkest Dungeon is not going to watch this video. But if you do not know what Darkest Dungeon is, it is a board game adaptation of a really well put together Steam game. Don't think it's an app. I'm not sure about consoles, but Steam mostly is where you're going to find this game, and it's a very good game for Steam. The theme is dark, so if you don't like dark games, hey, game's probably not for you. It is marketed as an RPG, but as far as role playing, there is some role playing, but it's mostly, action selection, class building, and all that fun stuff. It does have a unique system of position order because it's very 2D. So the ordering will give way to certain abilities that will activate, or will give you access to certain abilities. But anyways, I'm not going to explain the game because it's really not about the game. This is about the board game. And there was a lot of controversy around this for whatever reason. It brought in just over $5.5 million. So there is lots of speculation that is because it is an IP adaptation that was really popular. And less people saying, because it looks like a good game. And it does look like a good game. To people that enjoy dungeon crawlers, it does a lot. Man, I said God, please don't make an tracker on me now. That's gonna be fun. But let's see. So where should we start here? Let's just check out. Okay. Let's talk about the nature of Kickstarter. Estimated delivery, for example, whenever you pledge, estimated delivery, that's estimated. Why? Because there are lots of things that happen between, most of the time it's about a year. I've done a successful Kickstarter, which was Lucky Duck Games. They produced Kingdom Rush, a successful game that was an app and as well as a computer game. Tower defense game, by the way. They did very well on that. The campaign itself was snappy. They were there giving large amounts of detail about shipping, and even, this is one thing I'll say about the best Kickstarters that I've seen so far, is that their updates will include things as minuscule as their shipping boxes and what sizes they are and how they're going to fit things. Because simple things like that can bog down a whole process of receiving a game. So Mythic Games, who has produced this, they have a little bit of kind of a negative sort of not necessarily reputation, but there's some people that have had not so good experiences with them, as many Kickstarters have had. So that's why I am not saying Mythic Games at all is a bad company. And in fact, I've watched their updates. I've watched, if I forget the main face who gets on about I think it's like every week and answers questions, or every month or so, and him and other colleagues of his, and they seem like good people. They seem like they enjoy gaming. They enjoy Darkest Dungeon, and they've had successful games. What is it? Super Ultimate Brawl or Super Fantasy Brawl or something like that, I think they produced, and that one is played a lot. You hear a lot about that one. It's a good game. So they've produced good games. They're one example which of a bad situation that you can look into. I'm not really going to get into bringing up the past Kickstarters. We're just going to focus on Darkest Dungeon as far as what I show, but just a brief moment of talking about Joan of Arc. That's a game you can look into. In its Kickstarter, there's updates and comments. Apparently they had to have an errata for the rulebook and such, which I don't know if I can blame Mythic specifically, but who knows what was lost in translation and what had happened. And sometimes you make a game that is broken by players. So maybe that was attributed to not enough play testing or open play testing. Because from what I've known about making games, or have heard, is that you want people to break your game so you can cap that off and not let it be broken. So, but I'm not questioning their play testing or anything like that, because I imagine it's a long process, and especially with a game that takes hours to play, you're just dealing with a lot there. But so this game is estimated to deliver November 2021. That's in about 3 months. We just hit August 1st today. And 4 months given. So we'll say 4 months is lucky from here, because with late pledges still open, I get a little nervous. And it just feels, because this company has a lot going on. Awesome people. Sam Healy, for example, from the Dice Tower. Awesome guy to watch. But if you're still accepting orders, I'm just assuming that we're not getting Darkest Dungeon in November. And I hope by Christmas. Please let me get it by Christmas. That would be a cool Christmas present. But I'm just worried that maybe they might be spread a little bit thin. And you see that with businesses, They want to really get all the business they can and profit. And, hey, that's what businesses do. So it's up to you as the consumer to make the choice to give your money to a business. So if you don't like how they operate business, then don't give money to them. I see it as it's that simple. Don't give money to them and then complain, because you just have to understand that when you give money, you're taking what they are offering essentially, in a way. But also, so they've answered questions. Actually, I think this is new, so let's start checking out. So yeah, missed the campaign, click on late pledge. That is new. Questions remain. I know this is new because I don't recall seeing this. They're openly accepting questions, and they do. I like I said, I think it's every week on Twitch, and I might be on YouTube, but they go live and answer questions live. From what I've seen, they also speak French and English, so it's in both languages. I think it's just French and English, but could be wrong. So they are here answering questions and stuff. So I don't think they're not by any means negligent. Uh, you know, I wouldn't say that. That's pretty crazy to assume. But man, accepting late pledges this late in the campaign just makes me a little nervous. That's all. So, and you know, if I get it January of 2022 or February, March, okay, that's fine. But if we get into around this time next year and I still don't have it, you know, it sucks, but that's the nature of Kickstarter. I think it's always worth mentioning. Make sure you are okay giving your money away on Kickstarter because of the nature of it. Something could happen to the company and they have your money and they are not bound to really fulfilling you in ways. It's if you read the fine text of Kickstarter, it basically says, you know, you can't sue them for not giving you, I think, refunding or even a product. But of course, this is a game designer and a game business that is here to provide us with a product. So why would they just run away with our money? A newer producer or your designer, yeah, be more suspicious of that on Kickstarter. Make sure you're, again, aware of that on Kickstarter. Newer kind of campaigns and such. So, man, and girl, this game is pretty deep and complex. We're actually going to go through the rule book for a little bit. But first, let's just scroll through and see how many components are here. I'm going to try real quick to see if I can fix my latency. Don't seem to, but that's okay. Oh, okay. So the core box, if you're still interested in late pledging at this point, is I think it's about 100, yeah, with unlocked stretch goals and the free Musketeer mini. So $100 is actually pretty good for just the core box. Of course, they have the ancestral pledge right here, front and center, for you to see and desensitize into your memory banks. Yeah, lot of miniatures. In fact, imagine if you just took this game and made all standees, just cardboard standees, how much less you would be paying. Kind of an interesting thought right there to have. How do you switch your pledge to all-in? So if you didn't start with the all-in pledge, then yeah, you can switch it to the all-in pledge, just so you know. The main box looks pretty cool. It's definitely a large box, larger box, probably larger than most boxes of games that I have. Kind of Necromunda is a little comparable, but it's not as thick. It's as wide though. So yeah, core box. So these types of games, Kickstarter has a lot of miniature games that just seem to have a whole bundle of miniatures. And that's part of, I feel like, some of the drive of why these games sell. The miniatures are kind of this leverage point of spending a bunch of money on a board game. So that's why I was mentioning, if you have standees, cardboard standees, this game would be reduced by, man, it would have to be half or more. You know, resin, plastic, does have a value in just pure weight. And on average, like Reaper bones, those are like $5 to $10. Some of them are even $2. Those are actually pretty cheap and it's cool. Reaper bones are a great miniature set to learn on. Great set of miniatures, rather. Just because of their price entry, they're the best entry level miniature if you want to start painting. And then Citadel or Games Workshop, rather, those are probably some of the best miniatures I've seen, and you pay more for those, and for reasons, because the casting is just it's pretty nice to paint on, especially if you get a good primer, which I highly recommend if you're interested in miniature painting. So yeah, as a miniature painter, you kind of get excited about having lots of miniatures, regardless if you're playing the game or not. Which is, I mean, you hear some people say they do enjoy painting miniatures a lot, actually, and it becomes just a hobby, you know. So it's one thing to consider. I don't know if I would say this is a pretty, if you like this aesthetic, for example, like D&D, this is awesome miniatures for D&D. I would almost say perfect. But for a dark campaign, this is a very dark theme. Dark fantasy, if you will. You know, Dark Souls type. So yeah, core box, lots of cards. Definitely lots of cards and lots of boards. You know, this thing is going to sprawl out on the table and just consume your table, whatever table you've got. This is going to test its space for sure, and your management of tokens. And this game, I don't even like dice trays, but for some reason I want a dice tray for this game. You know, you got D10s and D6s, so I am excited to see that. Apparently I'm still lagging, but it is just my video, so whatever. So yeah, you got the core box, which I've never faced this in the video game, so maybe I'm a noob, but yeah, this thing looks pretty ruthless. And as well as the heart and gestating heart. The gestating heart is just, it's just so nasty. I'm pretty sure that's in the game, but man, that's a nasty miniature. So if you like painting nasty, I'm not going to say that because I want this to be at somewhat PG-13 family friendly, but if you want to paint some nasty SHIT, you might be interested in this game, or playing, or beating the crap out of some nasty SHIT. So Crimson Pledge, the Crimson Court. Now this it sort of does just look like more the expansions. Even the amount of miniatures is like, so 72 miniatures in the core box, 64 monster miniatures, 8 hero miniatures. And the first expansion, Crimson Court, has 36 monster miniatures. Okay. So about half, but oof. What is that one? Has some sort of protruding nasty arm. Definitely excited about some of these poses. These guys in particular with their swords drawn straight out. Very cool. I like these guys too. I will have fun painting these, especially the monsters. Okay, so here's a point too with the heroes that I noticed, because I enjoy painting eyes. Eyes are fun and interesting to paint, and they offer lots of just cool things, you know, and you are proud to paint the eyes. The eyes require detail, skill, and just, you know, your eyes you just get proud about them. And these heroes don't seem to have eyes because they are black. In the game, they're just black pools of ink, just pure black. So I have yet to see a close-up hero miniature that really verifies if their eyes are not just blank little black pools. And this kind of worried me because if they're not rounded as an eye surface, it's going to be hard to, you know what I would go as far as to do? I would take a little clay ball and put it in there and paint it as the eye, because I desperately want these to have eyes. So let's actually check out some of the miniatures here. Okay, he does have an eye. It's very, very dark, but he does have an eye. I don't think there's one in there. That is some good non-metallic metal right there. That is spicy for sure. Let's see what else we got. Let's look at, whoa, his nipples are large and pink. I just feel like his nipples should be a little darker. I don't know. Is it just me, or that's great. Nonetheless, this is some good paint, non-metallic metal though. Lots of nice transitions, but man, those nipples and the black around the nipples, I don't know. That just everything but the nip on that one. Yeah, I mean, a lot of their eyes are obscured anyways by things. So it's unique. It offers, like, just for me as a painter to say, oh, just black in the eye, I just feel lazy. I don't want to do that. But it looks like some of them have opportunities for eyes, especially the Zealot, I believe her name is, which is one of the most badass girls in the game. She just smacks things. Plague Doctor looking very good. Very nice stipple job and texture on his cloak. So yeah, we even got some comic stuff. Okay. So yeah, that was my little tangent about the eyes. So as we go, is this the Crimson Court? No, that is the core box. I have scrolled all the way back up. So stretch goals. Unlocked heirlooms and foes. 4 hero miniature, 4 stance tokens. Color of Madness. Huh. 4 hero miniatures. So hang on. Let's go real quick down to that. This looks brighter than last time. This red. Maybe I'm just not remember it. These look awesome. Like that one. Oh, some of these are going to be fun to paint. These miniatures, like, I would be lying. Maybe that's all, yeah, 4 heroes all together. Here we go. Additional core box. Oh, additional core box. Wow. Just throw in an additional core box. $15 off. Yeah, they're definitely trying to get everything they can out of this, and I don't blame them. Like, again, they're a business. So, but I just want to see, just a quick and I want to get my stuff about, if it's up to 6 months late, hey, I understand, especially with the current events in the world. I do really kind of even expect it to be late. I don't expect it to be on time within a month or so. It just, but that's my prediction and speculation. So yeah, of course these miniatures look great, and let's look at, oh yeah, the Cove expansion, which is all sea stuff, like some crazy crabs, crazy crabs, some merfolk, if you will, a dark sea creature, sort of mermaid. That's actually kind of neat. Yeah, these miniatures, and I'm imagining, so if you're familiar with Zombicide, they look to be about that quality, which is a fine quality. A little bit, they're in between Reaper and Games Workshop, I'm assuming. Reaper just has very bad mold lines, and these, of course, don't show mold lines in the animation, because this is a 3D rendering. They're actually pretty good 3D renderings, though, for sure. Which one is this? We'll go back up and look at the ones we did. The Wield. We got some mushroom fungus type. Big kind of giant. Looks like, oh, he's got mushrooms on his back too. And a big old stick. Yeah, we got the cannon, or it had a more specific name. I forgot what it was. These ectoplasm things in the video game really suck because they spawn and like multiply over and over, and every time I get really tired of fighting these. If these are as annoying in the board game as they are in the Steam version, hats off to you, Mythic. You captured that one. What is this thing too? This is like a It's like a gemstone tentacle hovering monster thing. The Color of Madness expansion is probably my more favorite looking miniatures, just theme wise. The stances are pretty cool. Of course, you got these guys with whips, which has seemed to be becoming kind of a nice pose for a whip, right? Mid crack. This guy with his big old sickle. Yeah, I mean, this one just, they're like crystal. So the Color of Madness, it also introduces these crystals themselves. Let's read about the Color of Madness update, because this is another thing I wanted to do, is get into these updates to kind of give you an idea of their updates. So one thing I'll say about their updates is they tend to not include a lot of specific game information. And before we read this, I just wanted to prime you with that, because that's what I find. So we're going to read this and see what kind of information they're going to tell me, and what are they going to tell us about the Color of Madness, and how is it different from the core box, and as an expansion, how is it expanding the game? Those are the questions that I want to see answered. So in the Color of Madness, a comet shard lands on the miller's farm. Now the miller and his farmlands are under the comet's control and pose a new kind of threat. When you visit the farmstead, you play a new game mode. Choose a level 1 hero and their 3 skills, and go to the farmstead. There you will have to work together with the other 3 heroes in order to survive waves of enemies. This battle does not take place in your usual room tiles. Instead, you have a whole new board in this expansion, much bigger than the usual tiles that represents the farmstead. Okay, so I'm not even going to lie, and I feel bad that I didn't know this, but I did not know that, I think, is the Color of Madness in the game? God, why am I if it is, I have not played it, and I believe I've seen that name in the Steam game, so. But yeah, so this is a whole new game mode, but it just says you choose a level 1 hero and go to the farmstead. So I mean, let's just keep reading. There's a farmstead oversized tile. So we know what the crystal is, which is a comet. So it's some sort of mind-altering force, possibly alien, possibly other dimensional, because often a lot of this stuff gets into Cthulhu type of lore, like this guy, the Sleeper. Wow, so that's like gemstones fused into a rock that has animated into a creature that just happens to have octopus-like legs. And I'm assuming it floats around and messes with your mind, because often octopus tentacle things in fantasy messes with your mind. Or worse, eats it. So your purpose is to defeat the Sleeper's Dream, a comet shard that moves around this crystal-infested farmland. This floating shard disrupts space and time around it, thus preventing you from reaching the core cause of what plagues the land. Destroying it is the only way to clear the path that will lead you to the boss, the main enemy you will have to defeat in order to win the game. Of course, as you are trying to destroy the Sleeper's Dream, waves of enemies will be attacking you. Huh. So it's sort of a horde or wave. It says waves of enemies will be attacking you, so I'm assuming they will be coming from spawn points, which is cool. That's a more traditional dungeon kind of experience, like Gauntlet, for example. But it does not say anything about spawn points, so that is an assumption. Just that waves of enemies will be attacking you. So let's keep going here. While you defend yourselves and kill the waves of enemies, they drop crystals. These are going to be crucial to your mission. If you visit specific spots on the farmstead, you will be able to spend them in order to become stronger and level up your heroes, so they become worthy of the final opponent. So killing those enemies is equally important as destroying the Sleeper's Dream. Okay. The Sleeper's Herald. Kind of cool. The Sleeper. Wow, the Sleeper's Dream. The lore to this is pretty cool. I definitely like this. Farmhand. Got some interesting sort of glazing going on there and transitions, especially on this one too. Crystals are fun and cool to paint. I don't know if you know that, but Color of Madness 4-man. Oof. He's it's pretty cool looking. Color of Madness Flow Horse. Plow Horse. I thought it said flow. I was like Flow Horse. Scarecrow. Yeah, so basically the farmstead has been renovated. During the course of this battle, curios will be spawning at different places of the farmstead. Looting them will provide you with trinkets, provisions, and other useful buffs. But always keep in mind that your curios can be as dangerous as they are helpful. Okay. Before you visit the final boss, you will be transported to a resting area to recuperate. You will stop at a camping site on the farmstead where you can heal, stress heal, find provisions, and catch your breath. The final boss will be different each time. You can either face the Miller, the Thing from the Stars, or the Sleeper. Each of the bosses has its own challenges to overcome, and either battle can be unique. You will either choose the boss you want to fight or draw a card at random. Okay, so that's the first thing that I have critiques with, and if it's just the way that it's worded here, it says you will either choose the boss you want to fight or draw a card at random. What decides? Do I just decide that? Because that feels... I definitely wouldn't... I don't feel like I would get to choose what boss I would want to fight. If there are 3 bosses, I would assume I am fighting whichever one is coming at me. So I don't think I would get to choose what boss I want to fight. That just feels less. But I'm somewhat of a... I like games to be hard, so and randomness as far as, if there's 3 bosses. So yeah, it's cool that there's 3 bosses, but choose for me based on a condition that is relative to the game and the play of the game. But so yeah, Thing from the Stars, pretty gruesome, and oof, that hand is also a wolf, and his arm is just mutated, and there's a skull in his foot. Oh, there's a deer too. This is like definitely very Thing-ish. It's like the Thing mixed with Rock Golem, which seems pretty brutal. One thing that works quite differently in the Color of Madness is the torchlight. Here the light just takes different colors, the colors of madness. Okay. Each time that the color of the torch changes, it triggers different effects. Will it work in your favor, or will the Farmstead miasma take the best of you? Those effects are instead instantly triggered and applied and are not passive abilities like in the core game. As you can see, the Color of Madness offers a unique experience, a standalone experience from the core game, and it's totally different game mode. If you want to play one-off with friends and not start a whole campaign with them, this is the expansion for you. Okay, so it's funny because the final paragraph is actually telling us exactly what I asked. Does this offer anything new to the game? And I'm going to say yes and no. Because it literally tells you to pick a hero. Level 1 hero. And their 3 skills to go to the farmstead. So what you're doing is you're playing a hero and doing the exact same things just like you would be doing in the core game. So they changed nothing about your hero and the skills and the feeling of playing that. So, okay, this is a different... I mean, this really just feels like... not a bad... I'm not going to say not an expansion, because it clearly is an expansion, but all of these expansions feel like just part of the game. And I guess you could sell this all as a game. It almost doesn't make sense. I don't think you can make a box big enough to fit all of these miniatures. Actually, you probably could. I'm wrong on that, but that would be a big box, and no one is going to buy a box that big. So I don't know. It says that this is a new mode of play, but there are just some different rules and a different board. So I'm excited. I'm glad that there is at least a different board, and the torchlight is different, and you get crystals to do things with. So I mean, I just don't... I feel like an expansion should really expand the game. But there's... this as an expansion, it kind of... like the expansion I want or would like to see, I don't think is going to make sense in a game of this size. Just checking my connection here. Because, I mean, all in all, this game does what it does well, and that's why you play it. So I'm kind of digressing here, but I'm trying to really hit the nail on the head with expansions, and that, in like the word, it expands the game. This does expand the game, but not in a way that makes me very, very happy. I'm still happy for it, and I'm glad that there is this much content, but I'm still unsure how different the Color of Madness is going to feel, and I know I'm gonna want the core experience. Uh, so you may ask, why did I back all in? Because it's a bunch of miniatures, and I really like this game. So this is, and there's a lot of people you see that are on the fence about this game. So it's just interesting how this has played out. So let's check out the Wields expansion. The Wields? I think it's the Wields. This is actually fun, going and reading these updates. So the Wield. Take a stroll in the twisted woods. Okay, let's go. So, the Wield. This is with the... So yeah, we got a new hero, which is awesome. Expansion. I believe the last one had a hero, right? Or did... Oh, no, the Color Madness did not have a hero. I don't think so. Could be wrong. I was 2 seconds ago, so I should have remembered, but... And this is an alternate pose or a hero for... Is it just him? Who is that? Shield Breaker. Why have I not seen that? This must be... Wow. Okay. Hello. Who's been paying attention? This Shield Breaker. I have not seen this at all. Is this new? Wow, I'm so flabbergasted. Yeah, this update's been out for so long. Okay. So maybe that will say something. Oh, this is upside down? Wow, that's kind of creepy. Him going in for a taste. It's probably, yeah, there is a kid in there. That's dark. So, the Shrieker. Yeah, I've never faced this in the video game. Pretty good paint job there. Nice matte look. The Shrieker's Nest. Oof, that's pretty twisted. Unclean Giant. It's pretty good. It's nice texture. Could be a little bit more. The Hateful Virago. Nice. That one looks good. I like that. So let's read about the Wield. What does it do? The forest looks familiar at times, with mushrooms and flowers spread around it, and things that look innocent can sometimes prove more harmful than you can imagine. As you traverse the Wield, you will find different tiles. You will find on different tiles small mushrooms in your path. At first, you might think that they are only there for artistic purposes. If you look closer, you will see that these mushrooms will block certain abilities of heroes as long as they occupy the same area they are in. Okay. That's cool, actually. Fungal Artillery. So he shoots... Oh, they're coming out of his mouth. And he's crab walking upside down. That one's that one's hilarious, actually. Necrotic fungus. Why did I read that as necrotic? Jesus. It is 1:48 p.m. The ectoplasm. Yeah, those things suck. Got a nice translucent look there. Wow. He drew in the sword, it looks like. That's pretty good, actually, what he did with this. I like that one. Nourishing and fragrant has turned to toxic and bitter in these lands. Torchbearers, do not let yourselves be drawn to this extremity. Stay strong, keep your hope close to your hearts. Keep being the light that dispels the gloom of the darkest dungeon. Wow, that was like hope. That was like promising. I don't know. The darkest dungeon is never promising. Torchbearers, I want you to know. We want to know more and have access to live preview content. No, we don't know. By the way. Okay, so this expansion literally introduces fungus that hinders certain abilities. Oh, and the shields breaker. Huh. And the shield breaker apparently is a strong hero that is a build around, and she focuses on push and pull. So, yeah, this is an expansion a little better. It has an interesting hero and plus mushrooms that hinder abilities. They could have done a little bit more, but you know, again, this is kind of going back to it. It feels spread a little thin, but at the end of the day, they did what they could. So I don't want to critique it and say, oh, they should have did more. But as an expansion, again, you should expand the game. And I don't know if this game needs to be expanded. It just needs to have all of its contents. So really what I'm getting to with this is that you have a game that has been split down into expansions, a very large game. And I don't know if they just added one, like the fungus, for example, that's in, you know, that expansion, and that's really the only thing that I've seen that was different. So did they just feel like they had to have a little something different in the expansion to make it feel like an expansion? Because that's kind of what it feels like. And again, these expansions just seem segmented parts of the entire game. So yes, they are expansions, but you're really just buying the whole game. Is kind of how I see it. And some people, like me, want the whole game, whether or not they are really, or that it's, you know, how it's sold. So the Warrens. It's because, yeah, I mean, again, in the game, these are not expansions. Like, the Warrens is just a place you go. Is the Warrens. So, I mean, referencing to the Steam game, you just, again, you're buying a place you can go as an expansion. The Leper, good class, a real smacker. A real smacker. Also a nice little a help class or a support class. The Antiquarian. Or Quarian, probably. He's pretty cool. I like classes like that. I like support classes. And it is a she. Let's have a look at this filthy horrible environment called the Warrens. Right. Well, I mean, we did just kind of look at it. You just showed us everything. So let's see what the Warrens brings that is new. See how we got the Antiquarian. The swine folk are the unique enemies you will encounter only in the Warren's location. They are all beasts or human beasts, and their deformities give them high resistances, especially to blight. This expansion gives you 26 new monsters, 7 unique monster sculpts, and 3 bosses, for a total of 28 miniatures, including the heroes, but not included the stretch goals that we hope will be unlocked and added to this box. I'm imagining they hit all of their stretch goals. They had to have at 5-something million. So, have you been searching the swine chopper and the carrion eater? This is where you will find them. They're searching for them. Okay. Cool. Good to know. Of course, in each expansion, you'll have 3 bosses, each of which comes with their own room where you will have to fight them. However, there is one that stands out, and this is the Wilbur, who is accompanying the boss Swine Prince, or maybe that's the other way around. Okay. Swine Prince. Pretty nasty. The Wilbur. Ha! Look how tiny and cute he is. And so ugly and mean at the same time. Brigade Wolf. Huh. He's just a badass human. There to take you out. This is a good miniature paint job. That one's really good. The flesh tones really pop in his face. That one's nice. Definitely some cool looking miniatures. The Warrens are a unique location. As here you will find something that no other location has. As you explore around the aqueducts, you will see that some of the areas have unique abilities that others don't. If you stay long enough in these areas, then it is certain that you will get a disease. A visit to the Santuarium will be mandatory after you leave the dungeon. Will be mandatory as in I'm forced, or I better heal? Yeah, that's sort of vague. So it says some of the areas have unique abilities that others don't. If you stay long enough, you'll get a disease or something. So, oof. Flesh head is nasty. Flesh bones. Flesh heart. Flesh butt. Dude. Is that... Oh my gosh. That has to be one of the funniest miniatures. Ugh. And gross too. The box contains 4 new double-sided room tiles, so 8 new unique rooms in their respective cards, and totally be getting more than 100 cards, with its unique curios proving less helpful than you would have wanted. Okay. Thank you. This place reeks of disease. Be sure to bring your good plague doctor. Torchbearers, but the ancient tunnels might hold things left by people who built them. Who knows? That is the trifling matter. What I urge you to do is killing the swine prince, defeat the beast, and roast its flesh with a pyre that will cleanse the darkened halls. Okay, so that one literally has the same effect as the first expansion that we looked at. The Weald, right? We have with the mushrooms that do things. So it just introduces some area effects for the heroes. Again, not much of an expansion, just a part of the game. You know? Just a part of the game. Okay, the Cove. The Cove has to have something besides an object that sits there and gives you bad abilities or bad sicknesses or whatever. So here is a bunch of lore. A new expansion has been now added to the add-ons campaigns. Prepare yourself to explore the water-filled nightmares of the Cove. The mysteries of the deep seek to be explored. The mysteries of the deep seek to be explored. That's a little bit of a stretch of words right there, but anyways, and revealed the location where the ancestor performed his pacts with the water beings, the ancient fisherman, will bring you nightmares. Okay. But before we get here, let's see the 2 new heroes that are added to your roster. So yeah, I don't know if you've noticed a theme, but every expansion just introduces a couple new heroes. So yeah, again, back to what I was saying about expanding the game. It is expanding the game. Yeah, it's giving you new things, but they're just heroes, and they function the same way. Or not function the same way, but it's not anything new to the game, but that's okay, Let's read about what is new besides heroes. So 31 new miniatures. I think that's including the heroes. The dreadful monsters of the sea have now surfaced on your table. Be ready to fight them. Level 1 monsters at higher levels you encounter Uka Major and Squiffy Ghast. The 3 bosses of the cove come from the deepest of the seas. The Siren, Drowned Crew, and the Shambler are going to try to lure you to the bottom of the Pelagos. That's a new word, I don't know, from which they came. Some specific cove stretch goals will be added to the box. Check them out. Such stretch goals will not be included in the core box, but there will be a core box stretch goal offered at the same time. Okay, contains 4 new double-sided room tiles. So, respective cards we get in other room cards. Previous. Okay. So, new monsters, new tiles. Hey. It's an expansion, right? Well, it is in the board game. But the Steam game, the Cove, is just a place you go. So. I'm starting to run out of energy to even go through the rest of the expansions because really they are feeling similar, but that was almost all of them. So let's check out the Crimson Court, which I don't think has an update. The game is played in campaigns of 11 missions. To reach the Darkest Dungeon itself, players will undertake 3 missions per threat level and vanquish the boss. Then they will be strong enough to face the horrors of the Darkest Dungeon. They may emerge victorious if they dispatch the source of evil that plagues the land. So let's briefly look over. So yeah, skill levels up. I think there's 2 levels for as the overall level. Yeah, you flip and level up once. But your abilities, you have lots of abilities to choose from. So that is where a lot of kind of choices or builds rather are going to come from. There are disease and quirks and stress, just like the Steam game. And you get to see how many there are in a deck of cards. It seems to be quite a lot. So those are things that are going to affect you. And you're going to have to keep track of all of these and add them up and such. So one thing to consider. But yeah, all the videos are also good videos on here to watch. They are obviously much more produced, and especially Quackalope. He's cool. They have a play session on there. Rolling Solo, probably the best rules breakdown that I like watching. Got a how to paint video. Lots of good videos on here. And if you go into BoardGameGeek.com and check out the forum section, there is quite the stir up of this game. And I'm not going to go into the specific threads, but there is just a lot of bad speculation about this game. And a lot of it comes from the upkeep of the game. We're gonna brief ourselves with some of the rules, so I can kind of show you examples of what I mean. So let's see. Adventurers are no superheroes. Although brave and determined, adventurers are only human. Okay, the campaign. Before the heroes storm the darkest dungeon, they must first deal with the imminent threats of the hamlet and gain strength. Campaign consists of 4 acts. Each of the first 3 acts consist of 2 general quests and a boss quest. By defeating a boss, heroes end its imminent threat and advance the campaign to the next level act and difficulty level. When the first acts are done, the gate to the darkest dungeon will open, and the 4th and final act will take place. After each quest, players will be able to spend some time in the hamlet and upgrade its buildings and improve their fighting capabilities as well. So, very similar to the game in that there are level 1, 2, and 3 dungeons, and level 4 and then 5. And then I think after 5, the darkest dungeon is like level 6 essentially, but it's not even named or gave a numerical value. Each card, it looks like these are split. So one side you're going to flip on the left side to either level 1 or 2. That you can see has your Hamlet ability. Each character has a Hamlet ability, apparently. Dodge, trinket slot. So yeah, you're definitely keeping track of a lot, which is not a bad thing. Not a bad thing at all. It's just something to be aware of and what type of game this is. So here we have some unique icons, I believe are similar to the Steam game, but I think they're a little different. But don't quote me on that one. So an example of the board, let's get an example of everything. Okay, so there's our player boards. And then you have the position tracker. So there's not only a 2D position tracker for the heroes and monsters, but there's also a 3D board which your miniatures will move around on, and that's so not only did they add everything that's in the game, the original Steam game, to a board game, they also added new elements like the 3D board. So you also roll for provisions, which I honestly do not like. That is one thing that I saw that just because in the Steam game you buy provisions and you have money and buy exactly what you need and want. On this you just roll and then take what you can get essentially and use it to the best of your ability. That's one thing, but I don't mind it. You know, roll for provisions, take them, hey, whatever. I guess one less thing to really consider and think about. Rolling in exploration, which is just simply during exploration, heroes can take their time to discuss tactics and strategies, plan their path, change stances, and consume any provisions they like. When moving from one room to another, heroes must explore the corridor. The heroes move together as a party and cannot split. Each player rolls 2 exploration dice and applies the results. So some people have said that this is super brutal because, from what I can see, if there are 3 sides and they are split evenly on a d6, then that means there's going to be 1 out of 3 chance if they are 2 sides of each symbol, unless they could split it, you know, and make like one, just like 1 out of 6. But wait, are there more sides? There are more sides. So there's 5 sides. So that means one side might be blank, but there is no blank picture here. So that means one of these are double. But yeah, this dice right here is essentially just a fuck you dice. It literally, excuse my French, and just from exploring, you're either going to hit Rebel, Hunger, Stressful Darkness, a Curio, which often is bad, and Traps, which are pretty much always bad. So exploration is super brutal between each room. And it's kind of adding this, it seems very taxing, which moving was taxing in the Steam game, but it wasn't that taxing to where, but you still, like, okay, backtracking, for example, when you move from a room back to one of the room you've already explored, you're considered to be backtracking. When the party backtrack, each hero suffers 1 stress for each corridor the party backtracks through. So that's just take more stress for backtracking. Like, it really makes you want to have a successful sequence, a linear sequence almost. So yeah, not only can you hit traps from exploring, you hit traps for just entering a room, because the room itself could be a trap. Reveal room cards. There's a whole deck for revealing rooms. I mean, that right there, couldn't you just roll a dice and randomly choose? Like, did you really have to make a reveal the room deck just to randomly choose what room it was? That seems just like, one thing I will say, I do feel like they could have reduced is the amount of cards. It seems like they really just they didn't cut any fat with the cards. They just were like, hey, we need a deck for this, we need a deck for that, we need a deck for this, we need a deck for that. They did combine one type of card, I believe. It has a top and a bottom. It's actually the Curios. But I think the experience could have been the same with cutting some cards. But, you know, they did what they did. I'm trying to find the Curio thing. Oh, so here, negative quirks and positive quirks. And I believe this would be all of the cards that you can draw from the quirks deck. Yeah, and if you want to pause that and read it, because a lot of these are cool. Like the positive ones, obviously. These are good things. Some actual good things that you want. Diseases, stress, afflictions, and virtues. So virtues get into, let's see what virtues are. Here's diseases, which are obviously nasty. Virtue card, front and back. When a hero reaches 10 stress and has an affliction or a virtue already, they die of a heart attack. Right. Wow. I think that's in the normal game. I'm just trying to remember if that's in the normal game. I'm pretty sure in the Steam game. To keep track of your stress, take a stress counter, place it on the white side, your hero's board, blah, blah, blah. So where are our virtue card breakdowns? Because did we pass those? Quirks. Where's our virtue card breakdown? So quirks, diseases, virtue. Ooh. Now see, that's something I didn't notice. So it doesn't seem to show a virtue card breakdown. There's also no examples of scenarios. No scenarios example, which kind of worries me. You always see that in books. But they do have this is subject to change on one of the first things that they say on here, so there is that. I guess this is an example of play. It's just kind of set up, actually. Changing stance. Here's a anatomy of a skill. So you can see the top will show you this is why stances are important, because you'll have access to certain skills based on stance. Defense and support being more towards the back, and more aggressive classes want to be up in the front. Obviously, it makes a lot of sense. That is why the original game is cool, because it makes really good use of that mechanic, or of just simple positioning, which I think is often overlooked in games. Just movement. What value can you get out of moving or not moving? So I don't see any virtue cards, which again is just worrying me. One affliction and or one virtue at a time. Affliction and virtues have a passive or triggered effect that takes place usually at the start of the hero's turn. After this happens, reset your stress meter to 0. At the end of the quest, if the hero is afflicted, they discard the affliction and gain a negative quirk. Oh. I see. So there is actually not a large selection of affliction or virtue. It just leads to a positive or negative quirk. I see. So here I am thinking there's a bunch of virtue cards. There's not. There's just this one, and it leads to a positive quirk. Okay, so there, we've answered our question. I do like D10s. They use D10s. D10s are awesome. Good on them for doing that. So managing the torchlight among everything else that's just where it starts to get, you're probably gonna play this game and forget a lot of stuff at first. That's okay. That happens with these types of games. With so many rules, don't be hard on yourself learning, and it might become daunting at times, and you might want to not play this game because there is so much to learn, and that is completely acceptable, because that's what often happens with these types of games. Getting them to the table, so to speak, is hard. So, after looking through the rule book, I mean, it is what it is, So we're going to see how it feels moving into the future with this game, because you never know. You never know what a game really feels like playing, or what it feels like. I mean, we could sit here and endlessly speculate about what it will feel like, but I really truly believe you kind of don't know until you actually play it and spend time with it. I'm definitely excited to play this game. Definitely excited to figure out the system and see how hard it is to get through, because that's what this game is supposed to be. It's supposed to be a hard game. Your heroes are more than likely to die, and you have to really learn how to manage that. So there you have it, a big old breakdown of Darkest Dungeon. I shared most of my thoughts about things, and I really don't think this company is a bad company. I think they are pretty ambitious, and from what I can tell, they are fulfilling those ambitions pretty well. I don't know what I can say. I want more from this, but it feels like I want a little more from it. But at the same time, it's not really about wanting more from a game. You know, they took a game that's popular for a reason. They glorified it. Well, they didn't really glorify it, really. They just used every aspect of the system in the game. You know, they did not cut anything from what I can see, besides camping. I think they cut camping. So there's something that they cut. But I think there is relative effects like that. They did minimize a couple of things, but added the 3D board. So very heavy dungeon crawl. It's definitely doing a lot to just move through a map and kill monsters and gain loot and level up. But it's supposed to bring this experience of the odds are against you. So we'll see if it does that when the time comes. You'll probably see some videos of me painting these miniatures, because some of them are just too sick nasty to not to want to paint. And there we go. Let's see. I'm trying to think if I forgot anything else. We could look at some pledge options, but you can see that for yourself. I mean, I think you've got a good idea of what this game is about and what you're going to get. So let the speculation continue, because I know there's a couple, again, forums in here where people, they just go off, and it's kind of sad to see at times people really treat game publishers like dog doo-doo, or like they don't care, because obviously they care. So I just kind of wanted to share my thoughts about this whole thing. This has definitely been one of my more interesting Kickstarter all-in pledges. So yeah, I'm going to end the video there. I will continue on. I hope you guys have a good night, day, or wherever, guys and gals. And we will see you later.